So, welcome, Kelly. It's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited as well because you have actually launched a product from scratch and you've had all sorts of challenges launching it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about your product in a moment. But I'd love to know a little bit about your backstory. Was it always your dream to start a business?
It wasn't. It actually, let me back up. I come from a long line of entrepreneur women. So my grandmother was an entrepreneur. My mother was an entrepreneur. My father was an entrepreneur. They all were business owners. So I kind of grew up in an office. So anybody that understands a family business understands what I'm talking about. I grew up in a very different environment. I had international customers coming to my house growing up. We were in Las Vegas for trade shows every month. So I got a really taste of business at a very young age. And so fast forward, I was not, I was living in California, and my mother was out in Florida. And I got the opportunity to start learning our family owned business. So we relocated, my husband and I, we had a 6-month-old daughter at the time, Leah, and we relocated from California to South Florida so I could learn my family owned business. My husband got a great job offer. We were super excited we lived in California our whole lives, and we made the move, and we were excited to start our new lives out here. So we come out here, and almost instantly, and I'll never forget it, we were getting attacked by mosquitoes. And anybody that has been to Florida, especially South Florida, understands, the severity of the problem out here with the mosquitoes and the humidity and the weather and the rain. And we were suffering almost instantly. My daughter, she was just a baby. She was 6 months old, and we would go out on our patio, and she would get one bite and it would blister. It would blister. Her reactions were so severe, they would blister, cause like a full-blown blister. She would get golf ball size welts. And she was constantly having to go to the doctor to be put on antibiotic because she was getting skin infections from the mosquito bites. So it was becoming a really big problem, something that I had never, anticipated or expected moving to Florida. Unfortunately, I was also suffering. And so she must have inherited my mosquito magnet blood, because I was in the same boat. I was swelling. I literally had scars on my legs because I was bathing in cream and chemicals, and I couldn't get any relief. So after trying every over-the-counter remedy and cream, I started doing my own research. And because I couldn't find anything here. And I had come across a little tool that used suction to remove venom and the irritant that's left behind by an insect. So what that told me after doing some more research is when an insect bites you or stings you, like a bee, they're injecting their venom or their saliva into your skin. And in turn, it's your own body producing that reaction that's causing the uncomfortable symptoms, like the swelling, the itching, the stinging, the pain, the discomfort. So the tool's premise was, if you can remove the irritant, your body would in turn not produce those uncomfortable symptoms, reactions, etc. Sounded way too good to be true, because if something that simple was already in existence, why isn't it widely known or available worldwide? So ordered one in, got bit 5 times on the way to my mailbox, and I used it. And all of the pain, itching, swelling, everything, 30 seconds completely gone. And I was shocked. And I was like, what? I kept saying, what? So I started trying it. I was using it on my daughter. Almost immediately, it was cutting. We were enjoying the outdoors again. I mean, we would go outside, she'd get bit, I'd use the tool, and she was fine. It wouldn't swell, it wouldn't blister. She wasn't itching. So I kept using the product. And then I started telling people about the product. I'm like, this is the most amazing thing ever. And then I started realizing that this was a much bigger problem than just in my household. There were a lot of other parents suffering and not having anything to give their child who was dealing with these mosquito bites. Mm-hmm. So the entrepreneur in myself, I couldn't get it out of my head. And so I My mom and myself, because, at this time I was working for her company, we were able to track down the factory who was producing the product. And we ended up landing the exclusive distribution rights for the product in the United States, to brand it and try to launch it. He saw our vision. He saw, the determination of what we were trying to do. And we started it. And I started in my own backyard, at bake sales and farmers markets. And that's when I really realized there was a big demand for our product. Once people realized what it was and what it did, it became an impulse item. So that's kind of how we started.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And such a, there's always that idea, isn't it, that necessity is the mother of invention. And this, you didn't even have to invent it. It was already there.
It was there in existence, but the challenging part was launching something, because if you think about something that actually works, that's been in existence for so long, why isn't it mainstream? Why isn't it a household name? Because there's a lot of challenges with educating the world about a new concept in insect bite relief. And that's what we've been able to successfully do. And we still have a lot of work to do, but we're making some dents. And that's the exciting thing.
Yeah. So having had an entrepreneurial family, do you think that made that decision for you easier? That it was like, oh, well,
I had a lot of encouragement, but I also had a lot of pushback, because you have to think, when you're growing up in a business, my parents are very business savvy, so everything is a risk. So when we launched this, it was an investment. My mom said, if you're going to do this full time, you need to make sure that you're covered financially and whatnot. So my husband and we ended up selling our house, and we moved into a rental house, because that was the only way that I could have that commitment where I could dedicate my full commitment on this business, to launch it and still be okay and not make a silly decision, that could affect my whole family and everything I worked hard for. So there was a lot of sacrifice at the beginning, launching this. It was scary.
Yeah. So was it just that vision that helped you overcome the scariness, or was there something else behind that?
I think it was the drive that the product worked, honestly, because I was getting the feedback. So everybody that I was giving it to and explaining and demoing it and showing what it did and why it works, and then them trying and seeing the results for themselves. I had enough research on my own and enough testimonials and feedback that was coming in that I just needed to get it out there on a bigger level. So I was convinced the product, was really helping people. And I think that's been the biggest driver. It still is to this day, even at the level that we're at. We have 30,000 reviews on Amazon. The testimonials that come in are life-changing. And that is what drives me, because if it's that life-changing for that many people, imagine how many more people could get relief from our product.
Yeah. And thank you so much for sending me one. I'm going to put it
of course
for those that are watching.
Yeah.
I was a bit back to front, but anyway. It is great. And you kindly sent one to me, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to have the chance to use it because here it's winter and I'll have to wait till the summer. But then kind of fortunately, I got bitten by, I would presume, a spider, because there's nothing else alive at the minute, I don't think. So I was like, well, actually, I wasn't even the one that got excited, because it was itching. I was like, oh no, what a pain, I've been bitten. And my husband was like, didn't you have that bug bite thing? I was like, oh yeah. So I got it out and I tried it, and you could instantly
feel it,
the relief, the itchiness and the inflammation just went.
I'm so happy you got to try it. I get goosebumps, and there's so many testimonials that come in, but that's the effect of the product. It's instantaneous. It's giving real relief instantly. And, it works great on adults, but think about children who don't know what to do when they get bit. They don't understand, especially toddlers and young children. What do you do if your kid gets stung at the park by a bee? What happens? They're screaming. What do you do?
Yeah.
Well, now you have a tool, you pull out of your purse, you suck out the venom, and then they can go play and you can enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. Actually, I remember when I was at the zoo with my daughter, and she got stung in, I don't know where she got stung, but anyway, she grabbed it
Yeah.
and the sting juice was in her hand and she rubbed it in her eye and her
Oh
eye
my
was
gosh.
swelling, like,
The
oh
venom.
my gosh. Yeah, just if we could have just pulled that out and she wouldn't have.
Suck it out, get it out, get it out, get it out. And it's so funny because the children that use the product, and there's a lot of them, at this point, we've gotten a really good, consumer base that helps us educate other people how to properly use the product. Cause there's definitely a learning curve. We're a new concept and a new product.
Mm.
But the children will ask for it now. So the second they're in discomfort, give me the bug bite thing, get it out of me, get it out of me, because they know it's getting it out of them and that's giving them relief. So, more education, and that's what we're working really hard at, is just education, explaining and teaching the children, about insect bites and how they affect your body, and how by getting it out of you in a natural way, you don't have to, suffer anymore.
Yeah. And that's kind of the challenge of entrepreneurship, is that usually you're launching something new, you're launching a new version of something, and
Right.
you do have to educate the market, because if you're not launching something new, you're launching a commodity where there's a downward pressure on price, and there you just have to stack them high, sell them cheap kind of
Right.
philosophy. But when you're doing something innovative, something new
Yes.
to the market, where you're going to actually have that longevity, which is where you want to be,
Yep.
but then there's that education piece that
And you have to prove, and you have to, there's not only the education piece, but you have to prove, you have to prove everything. So it's just, it's crazy.
so
It's a lot of work.
yeah, I was going to say, what have you learned through that process? Because I'm assuming
A
that
lot.
you didn't
I
just wake
learned
up and
that
go, we'll do it this way, and it worked.
skepticism, so addressing skepticism with a new product is something that I think every brand needs to think of when they're about to launch something, because you're going to get hit with skepticism for a new idea or a new concept or something new. There's always going to be the naysayers. So really formulating a plan around our product, for example, I got hit with all the skepticism, because why would something so simple that's not here work so well, right? So what we did was I created a money back guarantee. I said, you know what? I'm so confident in my product. I will offer a 100% money back guarantee that if it does not work on you, I'll give you your money back. Because literally all I'm trying to do is educate and explain to people what our product is and that it exists. If it doesn't work on you, send it back.
Yeah.
And I still uphold that to this day, even with the success we've had. I mean, we still offer a 100% money back guarantee.
Yeah. And that's a great piece of advice there, because what you really want is that USP, that clear value proposition that is simple, and it shows the person instantly how it addresses a need that they have. And then so they're halfway there, and then the final kind of
back it up with that, you slam them with the, you know what, there's really no risk to try it. We'll give you your money back if it's not for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that doesn't just remove the risk from them, but it really shows the confidence that you have in your product as well, and that vision and that belief, and the stories as well. Once you can start getting those stories in from clients,
yes.
And start using those, then that's really powerful as well.
Showcasing them, it's re-showcasing what's really happening with our product in real time. That's really what why the business is so successful. We don't really, I always instruct my team, we don't sell the product. We're just bringing awareness to it, and then letting people know if they try it and it doesn't work, we'll take it back. But we want you to try if you're suffering, because it's helping so many people that are suffering. Try it. If it's helping, great. If it doesn't, give it back.
Yeah.
So that's
Great.
kind of where we're at now. And, that goes back to how we're building out the company and the infrastructure. Even customer service is so critical for me with this type of product and this type of business, because there are a bunch of people that have questions, even the people that get past the skepticism. Now you've got all the questions of, the effectiveness of the product, and, where the clinical testing on the product. And there's a whole nother show. So I really work on customer experience from start to finish, from learning about our product to purchasing our product to answering questions about our product. We bring our customer through the whole journey with us. And I think that's really helped us spread by word of mouth, honestly.
Yeah.
because we're there. We're all a big family. I call all of our customers our bug bite thing family. They're all in it with us. They all see, they all want to help other people as well get relief because it works.
Yeah. And I was having a conversation just last week. I was giving a program on marketing basically
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people misunderstand marketing. They just think it's all about promotion, but it's not. It's about every step of the customer journey. And I love that you took that into consideration and you were thinking, okay, at every point where they could have questions, where things could go wrong, where they just want reassurance, where they need more information, we need to make sure that they have access to that
Absolutely.
in a way that you can control, so that you're guaranteeing that quality, and that is going to build that credibility and that trust over time as well. So
Absolutely. And then, as we're advancing within our organization, even like now we're doing even more. Like we're creating a help desk that we're going to integrate with our website that has even more of the commonly asked questions, more in depth to just really give that extra boost to our customers, that extra, we're here to help you, educate you, explain every question, angle, concern you have about our product.
I love the care and attention, and I think it's going to be a big success, clearly.
Thank you.
That much thought and attention and care for your customers, and that's so important.
They're what makes this all work. They're the ones that see the vision with me and they want to help other people. And that we have enough customers now that we've, given that messaging to, because that's what we're about. That's our brand. I'm the CEO and it's my call and that's what I want. So that's what we're doing. And I think my whole team appreciates that. My customer service team says, they tell me all the time, I make their lives so easy because I just want satisfied customers. If they're not satisfied, give them their money back and they can try something else that works, but there's enough. We don't get enough, of the negativity. Most people are really receptive to our product and it works phenomenal for them. So we've been really lucky.
Yeah. And, I love that it's simplicity. And sometimes that's the best way, isn't it? Because here we have products that work very well, but you can smell the chemicals in them. They
Yes.
almost makes your eyes water, and you don't want to put it on the kids because that's going to absorb into their body
over and over again. And then if you really suffer, nothing. And you're swelling and you have to keep something on you because otherwise it's going to keep swelling and you're going to have to go to the doctor or the hospital. Like, what do? It's creams and chemicals. There's a lot of chemicals in that, in those stuff, and you're applying them on young children over and over throughout the day.
Yeah.
And in places like Florida, where you're getting bit every time you walk outside, it's a daily occurrence.
Yeah. So I want to come back to the early days of your business.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you were selling from some markets and from
Mm-hmm.
your yard. Do you think that was a benefit, being that close to customers and having those early conversations? Do you think that helped you with the education and developing the communications that you needed to have later on?
It gave me a lot of insight. So there was two things that kind of happened. So the bake sales and launching, I actually launched it at my daughter's preschool. That's how ironic this is. So I was literally getting tracked down in the parking lot. Hey, I need another bug bite thing for my golf cart. I need one for my boat, whatever. And so that's kind of where I got my launch. So by selling them physically in person, it was giving me the questions, right? So I was starting to gather the common questions that were coming in about the product. It was giving me feedback about people using it incorrectly because, a lot of people, even though our product's very simple, a lot of people will pull the suction up at full strength and create a hickey where it doesn't need to be painful. You have complete control over the amount of suction, so on young children, you only need this much suction, where it creates a vacuum effect and it the venom and the saliva can be removed. You don't need to go all the way up. And so some of those common issues that, when you're launching a product, you don't know what the feedback's going to be. So that was a good eye opener to gather the feedback. Mm-hmm. And then when I realized I had a demand for it and I felt like comfortable coming up with some questions and answers and things like that, that's when I took it to online. And that's when I started I'm self-taught. I took Udemy classes. I learned social media marketing myself, and it was a lot of trial and error. I remember my first ad spend for the day was like $10 a day. And I was just reinvesting it back in and slowly teaching myself and trial and error. And finally I got it to go. And that's, that is when the feedback earlier when I launched at the bake sales and the farmers markets really came into play, because now I wasn't able to have that face-to-face interaction. I was dealing with people online, and now you've got the online trolls, the skepticism. You can't be there, defending it. It's all on comments. So, yeah, that was kind of the switch. So I think definitely the bake sales and the farmers markets helped. That also helped create the demand, because starting in my own backyard, it was, hey, that mom at the preschool that sells those bug suction things. That's literally what I was called in this little town, and it just kept spreading. And yeah, so it was literally, I started in my own backyard.
Yeah, I love that. And do you think if you were to go back and start all over again, would you still take the time to learn those skills yourself, or would you
Yes,
be tempted to
100% yes.
outsource?
I think I needed to know every step of the way of the business before I could visualize how I wanted the direction. I have probably the next 5 years for bug biting booked out in my head. My brain never shuts off. And I saw after probably the first year of doing this full time, I had perfected the vision or the direction I wanted to take the company. And that was only because I had done everything. I had done customer service. I was doing marketing. I was doing shipping. I was doing the Amazon business. And by doing all of that and seeing where all the issues came in, all the hiccups, how I was going to figure out the infrastructure, when I couldn't be the only one answering inquiries and marketing it, how was I going to delegate? So it really gave me, I was, the one thing I can encourage people is don't be afraid to pivot. When you're starting a business, you've got to be flexible enough to pivot, because if I didn't pivot 50 times that first year and figure out my secret sauce and the vision, we wouldn't be successful where we're at now.
Yeah.
That first year was really critical to identify the direction, who my customer was, how this would work. We had to work on getting a strong brand enforcement program in place to deal with counterfeiters or knockoffs. There was just a lot, and then in doing that and launching it, we got the attention of Shark Tank producer, who then reached out to us and encouraged, me to audition for the show. And we were on Shark Tank, and that's kind of took us to a whole nother level. So yeah, we were on Shark Tank in 2019.
And would that really help to kickstart the brand?
That exploded us. So, the earlier stages, it was a lot of figuring out the vision, the direction. Then we got the opportunity for Shark Tank, and that's when we moved. We literally moved. I moved 3 times in 6 months. And it was all because of the growth of Bug Bite thing, because we moved from the rental house to a house with a huge garage, because we thought we were going to be able to operate and keep up with the demand out of our garage. Then we outgrew that facility, went on Shark Tank, and that's when we got our first warehouse location. And then we ended up airing on Shark Tank, and then we outgrew that location. So now we're in a second facility, 2 doors down. And so we have 2 facilities now, and we're outgrowing this one too. So there's a lot of rapid growth right now, and we're really thankful that, we're able to get the word out. And, the feedback, like I said, the feedback is what keeps me going. That's what really pushes me to go. We've got pediatric cancer doctors now recommending our product to cancer patients, because they can't, continuously put the chemical, and there's something in chemo that attracts mosquitoes. So it feels good. It feels really good to offer a product that is helping people.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? Where you start as an entrepreneur is never where you you end up. And for some people, their vision and their purpose is so clear from day one, but we've heard on this show that that's not the case for a lot of people, that they go down one route and realize, oh, that's not working, or actually I don't like this market.
Yeah.
And keep practicing and changing, and that's okay. I remember one of our very earliest episodes with an artist called Steph Fontaine. And she was saying, oh, it's a bit like a dog, you know, when it goes sniffing in the park, it sniffs over here and then it sniffs over there. And she goes, that kind of feels like what it's like figuring things out in the early days.
A little bit. You got to figure it out. And then what happens is after you figure out one little sector, you move on to the next one. And by the time you make your full circle, this one's outdated and you have to go back to it and update the new method because, you know, if you're doing your job right, your company's growing and you're evolving and there's constant pivoting and workflows and meetings and things that get formulated out of necessity if you're doing things right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that you need to constantly evolve and there should be some type of evolution happening on a regular basis to keep your business on track.
Yeah, absolutely. And to keep it fun as well.
Yeah. Entertaining
and growing and expanding along
the
business. And then that helps you to like really dream bigger and have a bigger vision and think, oh, well, actually, maybe all of this that you didn't even dare to think before could be.
That's what's happening to me now. So when I first started my vision, I literally was like, I'm going to sell these at bake sales and farmers markets. It's the perfect product. You know, I literally even thought when we created the name, because the name kind of came out of, it's kind of an ironic story. I was telling my husband, go grab that bug bite thing so we can think of a name. And we kind of just looked at each other and we're like, that bug bite thing. And then I literally thought in my head, if I saw the word bug bite thing at a farmer's market from across the, you know, the way, I would say, what is a bug bite thing? And that would pique my interest enough to walk over there, you know, and now my vision has completely changed. Now I want to give back through entrepreneurship. I want to encourage people, you know, they can do it too. Be smart about it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket and be smart, but there's opportunity for, I mean, I took a little known product and created a global brand out of it, you know, that anybody with a little bit of drive and, you know, resources can do that.
Yeah, I think drive and resources, and you have to love the product.
You have to be passionate, 100%. This all works because of the passion. And again, it's because of the firsthand testimonials for me.
Yeah. And I've seen people launch a product, a business around a product. They thought, oh, this is really going to take off in the market, but they don't use it themselves. They're not passionate about it and they don't get anywhere. So that passion has to be there.
I agree with you 100%.
So you mentioned that you started your business around a move to a new location and you had a young family. How was that experience?
Like, in what way? It was crazy. I mean, we moved, which was crazy in itself. You know, learning my family-owned company, that was a whole nother venture. And then branching off that and starting my own company was a whole nother venture. And then obviously Shark Tank was another milestone. And, you know, now, you know, we're expanding. We're going to be in 25,000 retail locations this year in the US. Wow. We're going to be launching in, I believe, 10 or 11 countries this year. So it's been a really wild ride. I'm living my dream live, I feel like. So it's been really exciting and rewarding.
Yeah, exactly. And it's rewarding, I find anyway, in just so many ways that you don't expect. And sometimes you can't even quite put your finger on it. But it's just one of those things that anyone out there who's thinking, well, do I do it or don't I? Just do it.
Just try it. What do you have to lose? That's what I ask those people. Don't sell your house and put everything in, you know, without doing market research, without being smart, without understanding there's a demand for your product, without having step A, B, and C planned out, you know, but it's doable. It's doable. You know, I encourage people to get ambitious once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only live once, you know, you can create your own destiny. You literally can do whatever you want. You can learn whatever you want. Everything is online. You can take classes online. There's just so much knowledge and you can be self-taught and still be successful.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you said that, you know, you can be whatever you want. And I've had actually quite a few conversations just this last week or so with people, and they've asked me these questions and it's like, well, who's the boss? You know, who are you waiting for permission for?
That's what I feel. And discovering it as a CEO, I'm like, who am I looking to for guidance? Like, it's okay, I want to have I want to roll out this benefit for my team. That's what I'm going to do. I don't have to get permission from anybody. I can do what feels right in my heart, in my organization, what, my team enjoys. So that's been the most rewarding thing, I think, about being a business owner.
Yeah. I think it takes a bit of time to get your head around that idea.
Concept. Yeah.
You can do anything, and it can be a
Yeah.
bit of a trap because you can do anything, it can be overwhelming. Well, what do
Yes.
I do? How do I narrow this down? And
You have to dissect it. That's how I use the word dissect a lot within my organization, because like I had mentioned earlier, I have the next 5 years planned out in my head, but we can only execute so fast, and we can only execute smart so fast. Sometimes you have to grow slow and steady so you can figure out all the kinks and the issues along the way and fix them to then move on. If you go from 0 to 1,000 and then keep taking business without fixing the infrastructure portion, you're not going to be in it for the long haul.
no, absolutely.
So it's going to crumble. Somebody's going to do it better than you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that ties in with what you were saying about learning the skills yourself. So you could determine what standards and procedures and ways of working matched with your vision and the way you wanted things to be. And then you have that control, and then you can properly brief and train the team that come
Absolutely.
in you.
Yeah. And essentially this is what's happened in our organization. Because I'm self-taught, now we're at the level where I need experience. I need somebody who has more experience than me in certain aspects of our business. So now it comes to pick, our HR director makes sure, my vision and their experience level can be meshed together to execute my vision. So there has to be a mutual understanding of the vision and the experience level meeting together to execute. And, we're building I'm so proud of our team. We have a really good team, and I appreciate every single one of them. They all get the vision. We all make fun of each other. We say we all drank the Kool-Aid because we get it, because we're the ones seeing all the feedback coming in. So when you're the company seeing it, it's like that gives you the drive to show more people because it can help more, so it's fun.
Yeah.
We have a great team here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a question from a client just the other day about, well, how do I bring in the right people?
Mm-hmm.
And I was explaining, well, it just comes down to what you were saying, having that clear mission and vision. Once that's clear for you, then other people can buy into that. And
Right.
as long as it's clear and it's simple, then they'll get behind that.
And it makes sense. It has to make sense. And it has to have a path, it has to make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just love that you have that single focus, and you've really built that out and brought people with you, and the success, it really speaks for itself.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm still learning, I've never been a CEO before. This is my first company. And, luckily I have, my mom, who has 35 plus years business experience. She's the president of the company. So that she's my crutch. We work really well together. My husband has a good chunk of experience as well. And he's our COO. So working with family also in the dynamic we use it, our company's kind of divided in thirds. I think we divide and conquer really well. But again, our visions all have to be lined up. Yeah. So we're all not doing completely different things in the organization.
Yeah. So looking back, is there anything you would do differently? Any lessons you learned the hard way? You thought, damn, if I only had this bit of advice or turned this around, it would have been different?
Yeah, I think the infrastructure portion is critical. Setting up infrastructure. And what I mean by that is this: what happens when you launch your product, right? And then all of a sudden you're getting emails back and you're still on Gmail, because why would you need a whole customer management program because you just launched? So that's the infrastructure portion. When you launch, now all of a sudden you get, thousands of comments back and thousands of inquiries. How do you manage that? Now you have to bring in a software program. How do you find what software program? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of infrastructure that has to be set up early on. In my opinion, even with marketing, having just a basic content calendar with a plan that makes sense and a strategy, just things like that. So I didn't do that. I feel like I did that too late. I would have benefited doing that earlier on than, I mean, I learned, I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
I probably wasted double the time, doing things without the proper software program.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for
So
sharing that, because I'm sure you've just saved a lot of people a lot of time and frustration.
yeah. I mean, these are the basic things you don't think of when you're starting a business. You're excited as, to launch this product, but all the inner workings of what does that look like? How do people discover your product? How do you keep up with the questions that are being asked? How do you deal with shipping issues? How do you deal with the postal carriers? How do you deal with Amazon? How do there's a lot. And so the infrastructure part, again, that word, dissect your vision and break it out into categories, and then start tackling processes for each of those categories. And then you just kind of evolve them.
Sounds simple.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of work, but that's the only way I can explain it to people when they ask me. You have to dissect there. It's overwhelming when you're running a business, the amount of work and time you have to put in. I mean, I remember I was working around the clock. I mean, I was working 7 days a week, 18-hour days, nonstop, just around the clock launching this, until I got it to a point where then I was like, okay, now I can bring in another person and take a breath. And, and then once I understood that, I realized that gave me mental clarity to do even more. So then I started realizing and recognizing home work-life balance and keeping my mental health and my physical health and my nutrition and everything else that CEOs tend to neglect when they launch a business. So I think that has been another thing that I did early on, was I figured out a good, healthy home work-life balance that enabled me to keep going and enjoy my business. I love my business. It's like another child to me. I nurture it. I think about it constantly. So figuring out how to incorporate that in our lives without overtaking my family time and my personal time. I think that's important for people to not neglect at the beginning. And I wish I would have done that sooner also.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I'm really pleased that that's something you discovered early on and you've shared that, because there is that tendency when you're in that early creation phase, you're going into the chaos phase of business. It's really exciting. You're loving what you're doing. You're so passionate. You can forget everything and
To eat,
really forget
to
to look after
sleep.
yourself.
Basic necessities you forget when you're in that mode. And I don't know how common it is for other CEOs, but for me, it doesn't turn off. It amps me up almost. So I have to force myself to de-stress and turn it off. My husband and I play video games every night. That's the only way I figured out how to transition from work mode to focusing my brain on something else. I go in the jacuzzi, I relax every night. I have to shut my phone off at a certain time. Otherwise, I keep working. I've got the gene. I just don't stop.
Yeah.
I'll just work. I'll just keep working around the clock. And then it catches up to me. And then I'm not productive or, healthy for anybody.
No, exactly. Building a business and growing it over time, it takes energy, and you need to look after that. And yes, I don't think stress and pressure aren't necessarily a bad thing. That's when we can sometimes do our best work.
Absolutely.
When we discover ourselves. But the problem is when we don't have enough of the counter stress, enough of those down
There's no
times.
balance.
Yeah, exactly. And finding what works for you is really important. And for you, it's the computer games and jacuzzi. And for others, it may be Netflix or going for a walk or reading a book. But find your thing and build that into your routine and set a boundary around that.
And create it in your schedule. Any other CEO, I literally sometimes we're seasonal, right? Because around bug season, when we get in season, I have to literally schedule some of my relaxing time in the middle of my day because of my schedule and interviews and meetings and things like that. So I still mandate it, even if time doesn't allow. I say, you know what, that needs to be on my schedule in the middle of the day if it needs to be, because I need that time for myself. And that's going to keep me, that's my relax, reset button that I have to force myself to have, or I can't keep going.
Yeah.
And that's not going to benefit the company. So
yeah. I love that you shared that and that important message. And yeah, what gets scheduled gets done, and having that me time ring fenced and safe.
and that goes back to creating your own destiny, right? You
Yeah.
literally can create, and who's telling me I can't schedule whatever I want in the middle of the day?
Yes.
Who's telling me that? Nobody, because that's what I want, because I know I'm going to work 50 hours at night. So if that's the time that I need, and that's the time that allows me to do my reset, that I'm going to take it.
Yeah. I had one client and she had a really difficult time reprogramming her schedule from, like, she used to work relentlessly and never have a break. She didn't even have lunch. And then she set up her own business and was doing exactly the same thing. And we're like, you don't have to do that now. But it took her a long time to break those habits and build new ones. But she's definitely so much better off now and could show up for her clients and really enjoy her business, because it would just felt like another job.
And delegating, one of the most exciting things now that we kind of got through the grind where I was doing everything, I was able to start delegating. And by doing that, it enabled me and opened up my time to start doing the things I love doing again. And most of my day now, when I come into work, it consists of stuff I love, forward moving meetings, inception meetings, idea meetings. My teams are bringing me the ideas now based off my vision, and that's exciting for me. And, that took a lot of restructuring where I fit in within my own organization, and where I was most valued and where I was the most helpful, for my teams. And we made it happen.
Yeah. And congratulations on creating an environment where people feel they can come to you.
Thank you. I think ideas. It's really important. And I'm going to do it different. I have big goals for our team, and we're nowhere near there, but hopefully one day, I want to have a yoga studio. I want to have a gym. I want to have a nutritional center, in my own organization. I want to create scholarship programs for my own teams, things like that. I want to give back to my own that helped us reach our goals.
I think you're going to have people queuing out the door to come and work for you.
Oh, thank you. So, it takes a team to build this, think about that. And if I wasn't giving back to the team that's helping us reach our goals and spread this and give all these people relief, then what is the point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nobody succeeds on their own, and no one has all the answers. I'm a business coach. I've been doing this a long time, and I don't have all the answers. I couldn't say this is what's going to make your business work. It's a process.
It is a process. And every business is unique, and every business runs differently. Every CEO has a different thought process, and it's the ones that can figure out how to get their teams to understand the clear vision, like you were talking about, and figure out how to execute that down the pipeline. That's the hard part.
But the fun part,
getting everybody on the same page,
Yeah, absolutely. Kelley, I've loved listening to your story, and I really love your product. It sounds weird, but I'm really looking forward to the first time the kids get stung in sun.
I couldn't tell you how many times somebody has said that to me with complete transparency. So many times. I can't wait to get a bug bite. I know that sounds bad, but
I know. Oh, a splinter. I'm really looking forward to those.
Yeah.
So
it was a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you so much for letting me tell my story.
Oh, you're welcome. I was just wondering, is there any other pieces of advice that you would like to pass on to other women who are out there starting or growing their business that we haven't? I mean, we touched on a lot, so perhaps we've covered everything completely.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's anything you think, actually, this nugget I haven't got across yet.
I would say don't be afraid to network with other people. I would encourage to network with other people who are doing similar things. Mm-hmm. That would be my biggest advice. But understand, by networking with them, don't necessarily take their advice verbatim and replicate it, but listen to their insight and what direction they're going. And maybe you'll pull some helpful insight of what they're doing that's working for them. There's the reason I say that is going back to like the customer management program that we have now. I learned that through networking. Like, why don't you just get a CRM? Oh, there's something like that exists. Okay. Just not even thinking about it. And that came, if I was networking earlier on, and, maybe going through the journey with some other like-minded people, it would give me some comparisons or some other insight or milestones. So, network with other people. Don't be afraid to get involved in your chamber. Don't get afraid to, get involved in networking groups. There's a lot of other people that are in the same boat as you.
Yeah, fantastic advice. And so often if you're starting your own business, you're not surrounded by lots of people who have done that before. So
Right.
you have to go out and find these people.
You
And
have to
as you
source
say,
them.
yeah, they can inspire you. They'll help you realize that you can do more than you think. They'll give you little insights. But as you say, it's really important to take their advice and run it through your own filter.
100%. That's the most critical thing. And that's what I did different. People told me when I was, when I got involved in the networking, I was told I wasn't going to be able to launch this in retail as a one SKU item. I was told it wasn't going to be successful through social media marketing because of the price point of the product. They were all wrong. If I listened to them, we wouldn't have gotten where we're at. So take their insight and figure out a way to pivot and make it successful for your company.
Love that. That's a great point to end on. And I'm finding at the moment where, well, I don't know when this is going to go out. Hopefully we'll all be out networking in person again, but all of this online networking has been brilliant for me.
Yeah.
Everyone's been more accessible, and I've been able to track down some incredible women, and actually speaking to everyone on the podcast is also a form of networking.
That's great.
Lots from that too.
I am too, just networking through interviews and getting to speak with people like yourself. It's just nice to be able to, talk with like-minded people that are doing things in the similar space.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So Kelley, thank you so much for sharing your story and your insights and your wisdom and all your great advice. For anyone who is out playing in the park or out and about, how can they find you? How can they get hold of the Bug Bite Thing?
Sure. You can find us online, www.bugbitething.com. We're also on Amazon. You can search us there. We're the #1 best-selling product for insect bite relief. And we also have a store locator on the bottom of our website if you need to run out and go grab one in person.
Wonderful. And if you try it and you enjoy it, then do leave a review, because we all know
Please.
that reviews for small businesses are like little gifts from heaven.
Yes. And it gives us good insight, of what's working, what's not, what we need to educate more on, and things of that nature. So I encourage reviews.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us today, Kelley.
Thank you so much for having me.